Welcome to Something to Talk About. I'm Linda McNamee, and for the next hour, we will not be running the Boston Marathon, but you're going to hear all about it from behind the scenes or on the street. I'm not sure, but we'll find out momentarily. We are live this evening. If you would like to email me with a suggestion for a future topic, or if you have a question for our wonderful guests, whom you will meet momentarily, might not have their email available, you can always email me at talk@bcattv.org, and I will make sure that your email request goes to the appropriate party. I would like to thank the crew for this evening. Chris Flaherty is one of the staff members here at BCAT, and he makes sure that all of us volunteers keep everything going smoothly. Speaking of volunteers, we have Christina Nikitas, Evan McNamee, and Lucian Gates, who have given up their Wednesday evening to come to BCAT and help with the show. So I do want to thank them. Last but not least, it has become tradition that I thank my husband Paul for staying home for Daddy Date Night, even though kids really don't need dates any. Well, anyway, thank you, Paul. And now, I think all my housekeeping is aside, I would like to introduce my wonderful guests, who I'm very excited you're here. We have Ryan and Courtney Fine, who are like major athletes. Man.
Thank you.
You guys have been running the marathon for a lot. So anyway, before we get into the marathon itself, just want to find out a little bit about each one of you, where you grew up, how you came to the Burlington area, and then we're going to get into why you started to run. So, I don't know who wants to go first.
Yeah, I'll start. So, thank you for having us, by the way. It's great to be here. I'm originally from the Philadelphia area.
Oh, okay.
Grew up in Philadelphia. Big Philadelphia sports fan, maybe not my best quality. I did go to Northeastern.
You're not a New York.
Well, that is very true.
Yankees
That is very true.
No.
Kind of neutral in Philadelphia,
Okay.
not New York. Went to Northeastern and ended up meeting Courtney almost 30 years ago. And ended up staying up here in the Boston area when we graduated, and ended up in Burlington 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah, almost 20.
Almost 20. Yeah, exactly. So we love it here.
So you got in when the getting was good.
Yes.
We did. Very lucky. Very lucky. Very lucky. Yep.
Excellent. So Courtney.
I grew up a little closer to home in Belmont.
Oh, that is a little closer than
A
Philadelphia.
little bit closer. I know. I went to Providence College. Ryan's roommate was from Belmont, his college roommate, and that's how we met.
Oh, I figured you went to Northeastern as well.
Nope,
I'm like,
No.
right?
grad school involved?
It's a long, involved story that we won't share here,
Right.
but we
It's a
ended
whole
up
other-
meeting.
Yeah, it's a
Yes, we
whole
ended up
other
meeting through
episode.
my roommate and
Okay.
a couple letters after that.
And
yeah.
then we landed in Burlington. I'm one of four. My older brother bought a house in Burlington, close to family. Ryan at the time was working Boston and then Braintree. And so it just worked out that now 3 out of 4 of my siblings live in Burlington. And
Excellent.
I know. So it's
I hope you still don't have to commute to Braintree.
I do. A couple days a week. Yes, a couple days a week in the district in Burlington. So it's not too bad. Yeah.
Excellent. So, what made you start to run? Just as a hobby, not. Did you like start out long distance? Were you always like a track and field person?
I mean, I really didn't start running until 10 years ago. Honestly.
So you started like.
Yeah.
You woke up one morning and said, "Hey, I think I'm going to run a marathon."
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So Courtney decided to run the marathon in 2015, and she came home one day and said, "I'm going to run the Boston Marathon from Mass General." And I'm like, that's 26.2 miles. I'm like, you're crazy. And then, of course, she went out and absolutely crushed the marathon.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, that's really pretty cool. Let me give that a try.
Wow. Okay.
And then I ended up loving it, and it's been just a great part of my life and our life is the running. So yeah, I didn't start until not just 10 years ago.
Okay. What about you?
I was a soccer player, so I had a little bit of a background in training and running. Before running the marathon, had run a bunch of 5Ks, 10Ks. I didn't run my first half marathon or distance, though, until probably like 11 or 12 years ago.
Okay.
And then I got inspired to run Boston because our youngest was at the NICU at MGH and had a couple surgeries. And it actually happened to be the year of the bombing. We had to go in for an MRI, and there were posters on the wall of the marathon team. And I remember looking at Ryan and saying, I'm going to do this next year.
Wow.
It was just, we were inspired by MGH deeply, and it's been our way of giving back. But it's segued into this whole new later in life hobby that we both love.
I love it, because running is really hard on your knees, and I'm like, I wouldn't be doing it. But that right there is just blows my mind in a good way, because when I think of the tragedy that was the 2013 marathon, I don't think I'd have the courage to want to go there for fear that something might happen again.
I have to say that, so this was our 10th consecutive year of one of us running Boston. Our girls, until this year, have never been to the finish line. They are always at mile 20 with our family and friends, and this year we felt they were old enough, and we decided to spend the night in Boston, and it was the first year that we've had them. And they were escorted by my dad, and he waited till we were, made it through the finish line and met with our MGH friends. But
how can you find anybody at the finish line? There's like a bazillion people.
It's tough, but we have
tough.
it down to a science at this point, because MGH always has some sort of meeting point for us after. But we definitely have not been comfortable when the girls were really little, having them in the city, just in case something happened.
Yeah, but I will say too, there's not 1 second that I'm running the marathon that I feel threatened. We always tell the girls, faith over fear. Unfortunately, because of that situation, I feel like it's actually safer. I mean, if someone wants to do something, they're going to do something.
Right.
But when you're on the course, you see a lot of SWAT team members, you see snipers on the buildings, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that unmarked folks. And so, that was a horrible, horrible situation. But I've never felt I was unsafe.
Right.
In
the community that comes out, I mean, this year being a hot year was probably the biggest crowds we've ever witnessed.
Oh,
but
really? Oh,
yes.
But great day for spectators, not great for runners.
But I feel like the running community and the people that come out to support the marathon are all looking over each other. And I, like Ryan, have never been nervous. Even when we make that turn, Hereford to Boylston, there's such a buzz, and it's the most amazing feeling, I think, in the world. But never have I been worried running down there.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Okay, that's aside. Let's get back to you guys. Do you run competitively? Do you have to run? Well, no, not against each other, but just like it's a race.
Yeah.
And, from what I've heard, you have to qualify for so many races and meet certain criteria, meet certain times before you're even allowed to enter. So how does that fit into the whole picture?
So Boston in the running world is literally the Super Bowl of all marathons.
Exactly.
No doubt, right? And I'm not just saying that because we're biased, but
it is.
It is. You do have to qualify, like you said, based on your age, and there's different ranges. Fortunately, as you get older, the qualifying times come down. But if you don't qualify, if you don't get a fast enough time in a qualifying race, whether it be another marathon or a half marathon, you have to run for a charity to get a number. So me, I would probably qualify based on my time if I'm 86 years old. So qualifying for me is not an option. But running is not. I don't run to be competitive. I run to give back to Mass General and to be a part of it. And it's great. I just love doing it.
Cool.
But you do have to qualify. If you don't want to raise money, you have to qualify, which is not very easy to do.
No. Even with that, even if you qualify, even if you don't qualify and you want to run for a charity, it's still extremely competitive to get a number.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
MGH, we had 160 numbers this year.
Yeah.
And,
Wow,
but
that's
there's
still a lot, I
over
would think.
That's still a lot.
300 people apply for these numbers every year.
Well over 300.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's even within that.
So how do you qualify for
To
a
MGH?
number? Yeah.
There's an interview process, but
Yeah.
this being our 10th year, where
Yeah.
we
What kind
call
of grant?
ourselves, they call us the OGs.
The
I mean, we
OGs,
have
yeah.
a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
that have been running, that we've met over the years, and so they welcome us back every year.
Yeah.
And we've had friends that cycle through that would love to join us, that we've, helped with the interview process, but it is competitive in that.
So it's like the
Yeah.
interview process, like, athletically based, or
I think it's commitment based.
It's commitment based,
Okay.
and they also want, with so many applicants, they want to have a story.
Okay.
Our story is, our daughter was, had some issues. Our youngest, who's 13 and thriving right now, thank God. She's a devil, but she's thriving.
Thanks to MGH.
So she's thriving thanks to MGH. So
Okay.
our passion is that, we went through a lot, and MGH was there for us.
okay.
And we want to give back to MGH. So they want to have runners that have a passion, have a big connection with MGH, to give that bib too, because it's a very, it's a precious
So it's
thing
like
to have.
It's a
bib.
prestigious,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people that we've come to meet along the years have children who have been treated at MGH, parents. We're on the pediatric cancer team. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah.
There are 3 teams. There's the emergency response team,
Home base.
and home base. I was
and-
drawing
yeah,
a blank.
yeah.
But the PD cancer is the biggest team. And
But
then one
that's 160 numbers for all three.
for all 3,
Right.
I would say PD
PD is
cancer
like
is about
105,
105, and then the other 2 are newer to,
Okay.
and those 2 programs are growing,
Yeah.
and they probably each have about 30 numbers.
Yeah.
But everybody has a story.
Yeah.
Speaking of, those 160 numbers, you're kind of grandfathered in, because I'm assuming at this point, but once you're in, you have right of first refusal.
Pretty much.
But
I think
yeah.
so.
how big of a turnover is it? Out of those 160, or 150
Yeah.
people new every year, or
I think there's a pretty large. I would say
yeah.
probably 50%.
okay.
Oh, easy.
And
I
it
mean,
depends. I mean,
No,
some
I'm not
people,
asking for like 47.3%.
Oh, right. But I would say half of the team usually comes back. There's a lot of people like Ryan and I that have come back year after year, or maybe step away for a couple of years and then come back. But I think it's a team that's pretty cohesive, and once you join it and become a part of it, as long as you can, you want to keep giving back.
Now, is it more challenging because, I don't remember if it's here or before we started, collectively your family had run for the past consecutive 10 years.
Right.
But Courtney, if you run this year and then Ryan runs next year, and you are on the sidelines, is it harder for you to jump back into the team after?
No, because we've,
Yeah.
over the years, both
Okay.
have taken turns, and I've,
So they're cool with that. So
Yes.
what do you guys want to do this
Yeah.
year?
Right. We're
Yeah.
team fine.
Yeah.
And they just, if
Yeah.
I'm not running, I am, cheerleading on the side, volunteering at MGH. If Ryan's not running, he's, our girls actually are a huge piece. Mackenzie, Bella, and Lily, have to give them a little shout out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They run a lemonade stand at Mile 20 every year. So it's a community of our friends come. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But our girls are a huge piece of this being successful. They support us.
So
They
it's
never.
really a family
It's a family affair.
involved.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think they really truly enjoy it. I mean, it's the biggest day of the year in our household.
It's the
Next to
biggest day of the
Christmas.
year
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, maybe not, but
Yeah. Well, for Boston, it's the
For
biggest
Boston,
event in
yes,
the city.
it's
yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah, but it is great. And I agree with Court. Giving the shout out to the 3 girls, Mackenzie, Bella, and Lily. I mean, they are. That's why we keep doing it. And the best part in my mind, the marathon, truly is, I mean, crossing the finish line is great, but seeing them and our friends at mile 20, where all the MGHers are, is great. You know, they all make signs, which are incredibly creative and great. And, you know, they say the halfway point in a marathon is mile 20 somehow.
Okay.
Because the last 6 miles are always tough. So to see them before you get to Heartbreak Hill,
Okay.
and then
Oh, that's right. That's right
know.
before Heartbreak.
It's right before, and it being hot this year, we were laughing earlier about me phoning Ryan, but I actually texted a couple of my closest friends and said, can you please have a bag of ice waiting for us? and we know exactly where to find them. There's nothing like mile 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you get past there, you see the kids.
It's all downhill. No, actually,
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, almost. One
Yeah.
more hill.
Mile 22,
Yeah.
it's all downhill.
Right.
But
Still sneaky at the Sitco sign. There's still a little incline there that nobody, right? That little
It's so
incline.
unnecessary, but it's there. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're at the
Yeah.
Sitco sign, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, City of Boston, time to
Yeah.
level out because we have to. No. Because you run for MGH Children's Cancer, was
Yep.
it? Okay.
Yep.
Does that mean you only run the Boston Marathon, or would you have the opportunity to run like the New York Marathon or
Yeah.
Good
only-
question.
LA
Good
Marathon? I don't
question.
know where the other marathons are.
No, it's a good question. It's only for Boston.
Okay.
Well, that
Yeah.
is, but we do run.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a number for New York City in the fall, but it's not necessarily for MGH. Ryan's run the Philly Marathon. I've run the Marine Corps Marathon.
Okay.
So there's a lot of running that's done outside of Boston as well.
Okay, so Boston isn't the exclusive marathon that you've only run
No.
a Boston
Yeah.
marathon.
No.
Okay.
Yes.
How long does it take you to train? Well, obviously, if you're doing marathons throughout the year, but you don't just wake up one morning and say, "Oh, it's Marathon Monday.
Yeah,
I'm going to go run 27 miles."
some
okay,
work
I know it's 26.
has to be done
22.
before that. Yeah.
Right.
How long does it take you to ramp up?
I mean, we both kind of run throughout the year.
Okay.
I mean, for me personally, I just kind of do the same routine year round.
Okay.
You know, but you technically start training. I would start in like December.
Okay.
And you just slowly ramp up your miles. Like the long training runs are on Saturday
Okay.
morning. So during marathon training season, if you will, I just kind of add some more miles on Saturdays.
Okay.
You know, I start at maybe 10, then you go to 12 and 14, 16, 18, 20, and
Okay.
up and down. So it's
yeah.
about 4 months.
It's about between
But you don't
most
start
training
from zero.
plans are
Yeah.
16 to
Yeah.
20 weeks.
Because
So,
I remember, I mentioned to you guys earlier, I had volunteered at the marathon for one of the first aid stations. And they were saying, I remember a lot of people coming in saying, well, when I was training, I only got up to 15 miles. But to Ryan's point, halfway is really mile 20.
Right.
So how soon do you have to get that 20, 21,
that's later in the
22?
training. So
Yeah,
our
that's
20
later in the
mile
training.
runs, like, we differ on our training a little bit, but I think my longest run was about 23 miles, but we peaked the same day. It was the day of our fundraiser.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
the end of March.
Okay.
So March is your big build up. Then you do, a lot of times we get dropped off in Hopkinton at the start line and we'll run the first 23 miles of the course. We're fortunate enough to be training in this area. And then after that, you take a taper time where you slow down a little bit, but your peak month is usually like the six weeks to 3 weeks
Okay.
leading up before the and we run. I mean, it
We do a
depends.
couple
I
20
run
miles
5,
before
6
that,
days
yeah.
a week. Ryan runs
3.
3. It doesn't. It's all what works for your body.
Exactly.
Because, I'm just sitting here listening to you and my knees are like screaming at me.
It's a lot of maintenance.
How do you avoid injury? Especially running in New England in January. What could possibly go wrong? Not that there's any ever ice or snow.
I mean, I think it's a lot of, like Court said, maintenance. I mean, we differ in our training programs, which is completely fine. I just run a little bit less. I do
Okay.
a lot of work on the treadmill sometimes in the winter, so it's like an
Okay.
easier flat surface. I focus on the core training, so you're doing, you know,
Okay.
core, shoulders. I do legs like one day and try to strengthen your body because running is a full body sport.
Right.
You know, it's not just cardio.
And
you
it's
know.
mind.
But it is a lot of
right.
cardio and a
It's
lot of aerobic
cardio.
activity.
It's
But,
the
yeah.
mind body too. We do a
Yeah.
lot of, I'm a yoga instructor, meditation instructor. We do a lot of, you have to not only prepare your physical body, I think your mind, and Ryan is phenomenal at training his mind, has to be almost stronger than your physical body because your body might tell you that it hurts. You have to be strong enough to tell yourself, like, I'm stronger than this.
One more mile.
Exactly. You have to stay in the mile you're in. You have to stay present, and you have to have a really strong. We always say to our girls too, like, be comfortable with the discomfort because at some point during the marathon, it's going to hurt. And what are you going to do when it starts to hurt?
What do you do when it starts?
Well,
to
that's what
hurt?
training really is. You know, the body you end the marathon with, not the body you start with.
Okay.
So, you know, you don't train not to have it be a little bit painful. You train to deal with being a little
Okay.
painful.
All right.
You know, and that's the one thing with, you know, when someone says, oh, I can never run a marathon. And I always say this, and I truly mean this, and Court will agree. It's like, you could do it because it's 90% mental.
Okay.
And I think 10% physical. You got to be in good physical shape. But
Okay.
if your mind, if you can be in the best shape in the world, but if your mind is not strong enough to do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So anyone can really do it if you
Okay.
train your mind. You know,
What are some of the challenges over the past collective 10 years? What were some of the most challenging points, either physical or psychological, that you had to overcome either during training or during race day? Is there anything that like stands out in your mind where you're like, I don't want to do this
I
anymore?
think it's the fear of the unexpected. I
Yeah.
mean, this year we faced some of that because it was a really, really hard day, I think, for both of us. In some ways, we had an amazing time together crossing the finish line, but I have definitely had times where I get to the start line and I'm really nervous. So you have to have a whole toolbox, I call, to draw upon to get yourself, because once your mind starts to go crazy, then
You don't want it doing that downward spiral.
and it takes a
thing.
lot of energy when you're stressed out. You
Okay.
have to truly stay in the moment too, and you have to know that my run coach always says this to me, like, better miles ahead. So maybe you're in mile 3 and you're ready to call it a day. You know that better miles, right? It's everything's
absolutely.
the word impermanence. Nothing is
Yeah.
permanent. This hurt is not going to be here, and you do each mile, each step presents something different.
Because you're talking, you mentioned the extreme heat that was unexpected this year. And I don't remember when it was, but just a few years ago, it seems like it was torrential rain the entire
We ran that
time.
one. I tore my meniscus
That
at
was my
mile
one.
like 10 that year. We finished, but that was our other slow. Like 20. That was 2018. It was
Okay.
they called it the bomb cyclone nor'easter. It never let up. The rain
it was like
came sideways.
you're literally
It
standing.
like
in
didn't
the,
come down and
yeah.
drop. It just
No,
Right.
You're literally standing in the shower wearing clothes.
Yes.
You know, for 4+ hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was another. That was
due to your
tough.
feet, like blisters and,
It's a mind
squishy
game. You know, I always say, I don't feel the pain. I don't feel the pain. I'm going to make it. You know, literally, you just know that unless something is drastically wrong.
Okay. Like a torn meniscus.
But at that
But,
point, it was
yeah.
like I mean, we have each other to get us through, and I will never not finish if it would have taken me a lot to walk off. I would crawl to. We always say we'll crawl to the finish line if we have
But
to.
that year was actually challenging. I actually found that one of my favorite ones because it was just, you knew it was going to be a challenge, and you knew if
Okay.
you finished that, it was going to be amazing. And it was just like an epic run in the rain. But it was also cold that year, and it was
chilly.
windy, and it's like.
The BAA bus that morning. That year, we took the
Yeah.
bus from the town common. The windshield wipers were broken.
Yeah.
Ryan's wiping the windshield
See,
on the Mass Pike.
I'm all about the pictures. Like, I know where the cameras are. I like to do the picture thing. Those pictures in 2018 were amazing.
Yeah, they're epic. Epic
so wait,
pictures.
they have pictures along
They have photographers along the entire course.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I'm out more for a fun run. So I just kind of think, what am I gonna do the next time I see a camera? You know.
Do you ever guys like do costumes? Like the couple of years that I did it, it's like someone running, the bride and groom
I know.
running.
Yeah.
We've seen
or-
people that 2018 we ran for
We
a while
ran.
with a couple that was stopping at mile
Mile
20
20
to get married.
And she was a 2-time cancer survivor.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, you
Yeah.
meet the most amazing
Yeah.
people. What do they say? If you want to become inspired, run a marathon.
Or
I mean,
even
every
watch.
year we
Yeah.
meet the most incredible
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
along the way.
I would not wear a costume though.
No.
I'm incredibly picky on what I wear when I run.
Do you have to wear like
We have
the
to wear,
team
well, we have an
uniform, or-
MGH singlet.
Yeah, the MGH.
They
Not
give-
necessarily that T-shirt, because,
Right, no, but they give us a new one every year. Ryan wears the same throwback one. He's
2018.
creature of habit.
Creature
right?
habit. Yes.
not superstitious at all.
No, not really.
Do you have the same bib number every year, or is that just
No,
like
it's randomly assigned every year.
There's
okay.
30,000 numbers.
Yeah.
So, but our numbers, when we both run for MGH, they give us, and we were
Do they try
one
and
number
cons-
off of each other this year. Like if both of us are running MGH, will pull us to back-to-back numbers.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool.
Now I did notice that BCAT did a story on all the Burlington runners. And I'm kind of curious because, well, this is going to lead into another question, but you both had the same identical time, but you had different places. So,
Oh.
but they didn't like skip a number. You know, sometimes like tied for 48
Oh, right. I
and
don't
then
know
50.
how that happens.
So I'm
I
like,
know.
did one of you put your foot along
Well,
the
Ryan
finish
probably
line
let me put my
first?
foot in front of his first because he did beat me in one half marathon. He stuck his
It was
chest
not
out.
very good for our marriage, to let you know. Yeah. I will
We were
do
not,
that
and
again.
like we said, we never thought that finish together was a gift. We never thought that we were going to finish together. We had two completely separate plans, but somebody.
Did you
know,
run the entire thing together, or
No.
was that with the texting? Hey,
Yes,
I'm
we met at mile 18.
Yeah.
So we crossed the start line together. I went out to do my thing.
with 30,000 of your closest friends.
Right. Ryan went to do his thing, and then around, I would say for me, around mile 10, I knew it wasn't going to be the day that I had planned, and so I called to see where Ryan was because I felt like, let's do this together.
Now, do you have like smartwatches or something? 'Cause
Oh,
I'm
yes,
like,
yes.
Where do you put a cell phone?
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I
had
just
deep
have
pocket.
it. I
No,
just
we
have
had
like a,
we have
like
our phones.
like a running belt, but my watch is connected to it. So when I was at mile 10, just enjoying it, high-fiving everybody, reading the signs, smiling, taking pictures of people, was my normal thing. The phone was ringing, and I looked down and I saw it was Court, and I'm like, she's not having me pick up the kids somewhere or ask me what she wants to do for dinner. I'm like, something might not be right,
Okay.
you know. But we
made the best of it.
it was hot.
And
It
it
was
was an
hot,
awesome
yeah.
last 8 miles together. It was
Yeah.
it
Well,
was so nice.
The plan was, if it was a little better running weather, she would probably have finished 45 to 50 minutes ahead of me, based on, you know, what the game
Style.
plan was, our style, what our goal was.
Okay.
So the fact that we crossed the finish line together and ran the last 7 or 8, whatever it was, together, ended up being
It was great.
That's
great
like, really
thing.
cool.
It
a
really
great
was.
thing. You know, that's not something that many married couples can say they've done together.
And at that point,
Yeah.
we just threw out any times in our mind. I texted my run coach and said, "I'm with Ryan. I'm okay," because people track you,
Yeah.
and so they see.
Okay, I
your
want to know how that's done.
Yeah.
Yes, well, the BAA has an app, and so they see you start out running a certain pace, and then you drop off, and people get concerned. But then I think what a lot of people did is they had both of us, and they saw that we were together, and
Okay.
it was.
I
it
did
was hard.
pass a friend at mile 7 who informed me that your wife is kicking your butt. She's way ahead of you. And I said, yep,
We
I
finished
know.
together.
I'm letting her.
Right, exactly.
So, again, you know, long time ago in a galaxy far away when I volunteered, there's like a device that you put on your shoe, that
It's
kind
on
of,
your bib now.
Yes, it's
Oh.
changed now. It's
Okay.
on with all the.
but it's to track you. Is it like a GPS tracking thing? And how does it work? I mean,
Yeah, so on your marathon bib, there's a
Okay.
little chip. So you download the BAA marathon app, and then
okay.
you put in the runner's name. And you literally track them wherever they are.
I think it's every like
Yeah.
3K,
Yeah.
5K, 10K,
Yeah, so they can
15K.
track you.
Oh, okay.
But I
And you
think-
step over a big,
Yeah, like a black,
I don't
like
know,
power
it looks
cord
like a
thing.
speed bump,
yeah.
Okay.
and then it
Hopefully you don't trip
digitally.
over it.
No, right? It's
You know, well,
very
when you're
safe.
you know, when you're
I know.
running, you have a certain like distance between what is it called? Your stride.
Your stride,
Yeah.
your gait, your
Yeah.
yes.
So if there's the speed bump there,
We know it's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once you've run a bunch of races, you
Yeah.
know that it's their tracking device,
But
and
you
it's
know
very
people are
it's
tracking
very
you.
seamless. They're little. It's not like a traditional.
okay, I'm
speed bump.
thinking, like,
No,
Yeah,
it's
no.
probably just a couple of inches.
And there's a big sign there, so
Yes.
that you know it's coming.
Oh, especially the Boston Marathon. There's huge mile markers and.
that was my next question is like, how do you know, you mentioned where the cameras are, but how do you know, because if you're running, you're just running, and how do you know the difference between mile 14 and mile 17? And
Yeah, I mean, we train on the course, so I know specifically that course. I know that one like the back of my hand. But there are big mile signs that say
okay.
And we have GPS watches.
GPS watches.
They
Oh, that's
beep
cool.
at us every mile. Mine does every mile. Tells you how fast
Yeah.
you're going, what your pace is, what mile you're at. So
And there's always one person every year that I've run it at literally half mile in. He goes, "You look great. You only have 25.2 left."
Thanks.
right.
And he has a big grin on his face.
Well, and there's like we start in Hopkinton, and somebody has a sign like 2 miles in that says Wellesley, like, haha, we're not in Wellesley yet. We've come to know the course really well. Like Santa Claus is out there right before Natick Center, and
Oh,
lots of
Guy
fun
dressed up as
things.
Santa Claus. Yeah.
Neat. So back to the bibs and the tracking and everything. How far in advance do you get it when you get your bib? And at the end of the race, do you have to like turn in your microchip? Or because I remember when there was the thing on your shoe, if you got to a first aid station and you're like, no, I'm not going to run anymore, we need your device. So because they didn't want people doing like way back when where they enter at mile 25.
People have
Right.
done that before. No, we get to keep our bibs. They're actually in our home gym. We've got all our Boston bibs lined up for motivation. And they give them to you at the expo the weekend before the marathon.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Do you get a cool jacket every year?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
MGH actually gives us really nice
MGH has
jackets.
some good
But we do have
merch.
almost every year worth of jacket from the expo.
Yeah.
So what color are the run? Yeah, I didn't know this, but apparently all the jackets are like color coded. Like I had a white jacket because I worked first aid. The red jackets are for
Yes.
volunteers.
Yeah.
What color were the runners?
Well, every year is different.
Oh.
So, Adidas, comes out with a jacket every year.
Okay.
Sometimes they're kind of funky colors.
Were they almost an
They were red, white, and blue
orangey-
this year.
They were red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year they were kind of a beige.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beige is so just.
Yeah.
Right? For all that work.
Okay, I'm like looking through all my notes and it's like, we're just kind of talking. So we had talked about so you've run for 10 years. How has the route itself, well, maybe not the route, but how has any of the administrative stuff changed over the past 10 years? Whether it's security, whether it's like the bibs going from the thing on your shoe to style,
Yeah, I mean, I
or
think
is it the same thing every year?
in my mind is generally the same, but the technology has gotten better. The app has gotten greatly improved. The tracking, I mean, I think literally on the app you see the person moving.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
there's
cool.
Yeah.
the course. And
Yeah, the
it's like
course
yes.
is very interactive, very high tech.
Okay.
But the course is the same as it's been the past 128 times
Well,
it's probably been run.
that's why I'm like, okay,
Right.
wait, that didn't come out
But
right.
I think the
But
only
I
thing.
think, yeah, I mean, the technology is fantastic. The admin's great. Everything's easy now. You go with the app and you have your bib and everything is streamlined much better than it was probably
I think
10 years ago.
COVID did change some
Yep.
things. We used to, each charity would go to Hopkinton and rent out a business or a house. And so we would be there in the morning having our own personal pep rally
Yeah.
almost with your team.
Yeah.
And since COVID, that's not allowed. So, but because we're charity runners, we get to go into Hopkinton High School and wait, which was nice this year in the sun. And then we used to take the BAA buses from the Boston Common, but MGH, like had us into the hospital this year, which was amazing.
Yeah,
And we had
it
a
was
big
great.
send-off with a lot of nurses,
Yeah, it was
doctors,
pretty cool.
patients, and they bussed us like right from MGH to the start line. So that was
That
nice.
was awesome.
That was great.
And there's a bathroom on that bus too, which is huge.
Great.
Yeah, I've heard that kind of gets scary as you go along the route, the porta
Yeah.
potties and the condition of them.
Yes.
What kind of, you mentioned MGH has like, they used to have those little hospitality houses. Is there like a big send off the day before, like, hey, let's pump up the carbs, or what is like the week leading into the marathon like? What are some of the things that go on?
Yeah, I mean, MGH does have a pep rally, with the entire team. And
Do you get like a pancake breakfast that morning or something? Or
Yeah, it's interesting. It
Usually
used to be Sunday,
Yes.
but now this year they changed it to Friday.
Which was nice.
Actually
And we
like the
always
Friday.
have the general from home base speak. He is
He's
one of the
awesome.
most motivational
Yeah.
people that you'll ever listen to. And then there's always another guest speaker. One year, one of our friends whose son had just been in treatment, she spoke. But I think Adrienne Haslett one year, who lost her leg
Lost
in
leg
the
in the bombing.
bombing.
Yeah.
She was 2021 when we ran in the fall. She spoke. So they always have somebody to get us pumped up, and just the camaraderie of being with your team.
Yeah.
That weekend, we spent a lot of time in Boston that weekend at the expo, and that's another family tradition our girls love to be part of.
what's the expo? Tell me more.
Yeah, so the expo.
Don't worry, I'm not going to like plan to run anytime soon.
You're
Well,
going to
you
be running on MGH with us next
Well, you
year.
could if you really wanted
You can
to.
take my spot next
Yeah.
year.
So the expo is usually at the Heinz Convention Center. So
Okay.
it's a huge thing where
Yeah.
you pick up your number. And
Is
they
that for
have-
like all 30,000 of your closest
Pretty
We
much.
have Friday, Saturday, and
Pretty much,
Sunday.
yeah.
It's
Are you
open.
like assigned a time where you have to go?
They have it very well organized. So you're
Okay.
you're assigned like where your number is. Charity, elite, qualified.
okay.
So they kind of have it broken up.
But you can go
different numbers.
anytime over the weekend
Okay.
to pick it
Anytime
up.
over the weekend. But the expo is just a bunch of, like Adidas sells all the marathon gear, the hats, the jackets, the sweatshirts, backpacks, whatever they want to sell. And it's been actually getting a little bit bigger because there's more sponsors and Boylston
Okay.
Street's packed.
The energy
The
is
energy is
incredible.
great.
Wow.
Yeah.
When
And you can see the
when-
finish line.
Yes, we don't
Yeah.
cross the finish line, but the finish line is all blocked off. So
Yeah.
it's great because then, like, the girls get to come in, they get to
Okay.
see the actual finish
And they
line.
like repaint it every year. Does it change
Yes.
like?
They repaint every year.
I
Yeah.
think it's the same every
Does
year.
it change
isn't it?
colors,
No,
or
it's
is it
always
always like
blue
the
and
blue
yellow.
and yellow?
It's always the same
Okay.
color, yeah.
It's
But they
nothing-
always repaint it so it's nice and
Yes.
Well, 'cause it
vibrant.
Fresh,
fades.
it does. But we're in there a lot over the weekend,
Yeah.
and just the week before, there's not a lot of running that week. That's a lot of mind work,
Okay.
a lot of maintenance, the chiropractor,
Chiropractor. The
maybe a massage.
They're my
some
best
Oh yes, we've got a whole
acupuncture too. Wow.
yes, a PT. I mean, you just do whatever you can to stay healthy.
When you were talking earlier about, Courtney, you're kind of more on the competitive side, and Ryan's in it for the social aspect. I remember, I know I'm overgeneralizing.
No, it's about accurate.
I've seen like people write their names on their bibs or on their arms or something. Do you guys do any of that?
Definitely. I mean, our name's on the bib.
Okay. Do you have to put it there, or is it like
You don't
already
have to.
on there?
I like
No,
it.
we do
No,
it.
but I'm
no,
saying,
yes.
are you responsible for adding it?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, absolutely. You have to, either write it or.
Hi, my name is Ryan.
Yeah.
Our,
Cheer for
our
me.
daughter has the Cricut machine, and she this
Yeah.
year bedazzled my Bella Courtney on the.
You didn't bedazzle mine.
She didn't, right? But we always have our name, and then whoever we're running for. I think when the girls were really little, we always had their names on our shirts, but we've had patient partners.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
one of our patient partners, Nikki, had a brain tumor, and we started running. That was the second year I ran.
Second year, yeah.
She's the same age as our oldest daughter, so she's now 20. But we usually,
And she's doing great at Kerry
she
College.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Ryan
awesome.
will write Nikki on his arm, and it'll still have a, you
Well-
can still see it in August.
Well,
the
one-
tan line from it.
One year I decided not to wear sunblock, which is a mistake. And I don't tan very well, as I'm sure you can tell. And I had For Nikki on my arm in black Sharpie.
Stayed there.
And it stayed
yes.
there.
Oh, it's in Sharpie.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was pretty close to August.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it still said For Nikki. You can see it's like almost like a tattoo.
I bet Nikki was happy.
Yes.
Hey,
I mean, that
yeah.
whole piece of the patient partner we ran.
No, wait, do you choose your patient partners or are they just
They choose it
assigned?
for you.
MGH
Yeah.
assigns it.
Okay.
But that's a huge inspiration too. When you're out there running, what these children go through, how can I stop?
Yeah.
I'm, doing this for them.
Yeah.
I mean, in the strides that we've made, like MGH, not us, but and all pediatric
Well, you're part
cancer.
of the MGH.
Well, our
I mean,
friends
well,
and family have all contributed to
And
it.
each year, our team raises over $1 million. But this year, when we got on the bus, they told us we were at the 1.8 or $2 million mark.
2 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're able to hire additional oncologists because pediatric cancer is very underfunded. But I think they talk about the curates, Dr. Weinstein, who's the head oncologist at MGH, the strides they've made in the last 30 years since he often has patients that he treated that will come back and run with us.
Yeah. Which
Wow.
He treated them as kids.
But just the,
Yeah.
wow.
Right?
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
what draws us to keep
Yeah.
going back, because it's just an amazing,
Well, the
amazing
money's also
work.
used when you have a kid that's diagnosed with cancer, unfortunately. You have to be in Boston a lot, so either one of the parents, both parents have to leave a job or take time off of work. So it's a horrible health situation, but also a potentially disastrous financial situation. The money also is raised. They'll pay like for groceries, or they'll pay their electric bill or something like that.
Pay for parking.
Yeah,
Pay for parking. Yeah.
art
Pay for a
therapy,
hotel to
different
stay in Boston if you don't live
therapies, and-
locally. So.
Speaking of fundraising, how do you raise that $2 million? Well, I know you're not solely responsible
Right.
for the $2 million,
Yeah.
but what are some of the fundraisers that you do, and how early do those start in the year? Like, when do you know it's 2024 now, I'm on Team MGH 2025 and I need to start raising money now?
Yeah, we usually start in like December.
Okay.
Try to get past Christmas and kind of get the feelers out there. But I mean, we're lucky that we have great friends, great family, and it's almost become like, what are you guys doing for MGH this
okay.
year? We've done the Super Bowl squares,
Okay.
but our big event is, shout out to Suzanne's Dance Company, our Dance Connection STC. We partnered with them this year.
Okay.
And we did an awesome fundraiser with our number 2 and 3 daughter, Bella and Lily, are big dancers at SDC.
Yeah.
So their teams and their parents and the coaches at SDC, the teachers, were generous enough to generate their time to have the girls dance at the fundraiser.
Oh, cool.
Yes,
And we
it was
had a lot of great raffle items and raffle tickets,
Oh,
and
excellent.
Food was donated.
Because I'm like, don't you dare tell me you did a Zumba night.
No.
In the fundraiser, it's a family night. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
It was
we
great.
wanted, our girls especially, had asked us, we hadn't obviously done one since COVID, and we were talking earlier that we had a big one planned, and unfortunately we had to cancel 2 days before. So this was finally our year to bring it back, and it was SDC for Suzanne's Dance Connection. SDC gives back, and the community at SDC, all of our friends, family came out. It was packed
it was a
house.
great
We
night.
raised a lot of money.
Yeah, dancers are great. The moms did a great
Oh, we had a mom's
mom's
dance.
dance.
The mom's dance.
Yes, and I'm not a
Cool.
dancer,
Yeah.
but
You are now.
so yes, it's
Daddy-daughter dance.
I know,
Yeah,
yes, right.
yeah,
I know.
Yeah. So the fundraisers, and then we have just an incredible group of people, friends and family, that donate year after year.
Cool.
So it's just become habit. What do we want to do this year? So.
What type of support in your fundraising efforts? Are you left to your own devices, or does MGH come in and say, hey, we will acquire a space for you to do a fundraiser?
It's
You are
all
on
us.
your own.
I
But
know.
they do provide ideas and support.
If you
Okay.
need it,
It's
yes.
a
So you don't
phenomenal
like
team.
just
Yeah,
have to do a GoFundMe.
They have a great
page or-
support
And
network.
we
yeah.
even, I mean, that was our big event. We also had a yoga instructor. So
Yeah.
again, SDC gave me their space, but we did a yoga night at SDC and had a lot of people come in for that. So, but it is us, in the girls, like I said, our daughters giving us ideas and being
Yeah.
extremely
All
supportive.
three of them are incredibly creative, and they share it out on their social media. You know, I mean, they have more than
And
yeah.
now that they're older, they can actually like plan
Yes.
something for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's nice
awesome.
having the help. And I mean, everyone at SDC, and also we have friends that come in, help set up, and
Yeah.
it takes a village, but we have a lot of support, and we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
When do you start planning 2025?
I'm already planning for
After
it.
you cross the finish
Yeah.
line, no. I know.
But like securing a space on the team
By September.
Yeah,
and-
you have to make a
okay.
decision by September.
and then figure out. Do your fundraising are your fundraising goals the same every year? How often do they change?
So the first year that we ran, or I ran, I believe it was $5,000 we needed to raise, and now it's upwards between $7,500 and $10,000 per bib number.
Okay.
And I bet it will likely go up a little bit next year.
Because there's so much demand for the
Yes,
bid.
for the
I was about to say, well,
yes.
what happens if you get a bib and then you don't
Oh.
raise the money?
It's on your credit card.
Yes.
Oh,
So you sign a contract to commit to. This year was $7,500 per number, so obviously $15,000 total.
I mean, it has to be something we feel strongly
Oh,
that you're passionate
you have-
about,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
we're doing it. Of course, yes, we love to run and we love running Boston, but we do it for the hospital, for the kids. I think we even said that leading up that week before, like this is for MGH, for all that they've done for us, and you can't go in tying it to it's our purpose.
It's our, it is. I mean,
It's
and,
our
and people
why.
know we're passionate about it and why we do it, and you know we've seen the impact of the funds that we at the playroom and the music therapy.
Child life.
Child life is a title I'm looking for. We used all that stuff with our youngest.
cool.
Right.
So now we're able to fortunately provide that for other families that are in unfortunate situations of need, if you will. Yeah.
When you just triggering, when you raise that money, do you just say, okay, MGH Children's Cancer Research, here you go, here's $15,000? Or do you say, I want some of it to go to housing for families, or I want some of it to go to a new playroom, or do you have any say in that? Okay.
You don't.
No.
You don't.
I mean, it all goes to MGH, but one year we did do a separate fundraiser.
Before we ran the marathon, we did a separate
and we
fundraiser.
raised money for our iPads when
Oh, yeah,
Lily was little.
We had the toy drive too.
Toy drive. We ran the Falmouth Road Race one year and raised money for iPads because we had been in Child Life, said they didn't have enough for the children waiting to go into surgery. So in situations like that, and I'm sure if you were passionate about something, you could talk to them and they would.
I just don't know how it works.
Right,
So I'm just,
but
it's
they
more of a
have.
curiosity
It's called
factor
crowd.
for me.
It's
Yeah.
called CrowdRise, and that's where people donate through, and we don't handle any of it. It goes just directly to the hospital, and it's nice because 99% of the funds. It's not like one of those things where only a portion of your money goes to MGH. It's pretty much all
pretty much
going
all of it.
right to MGH.
And MGH really counts on that money. Like they have it built into their budget, and if they don't get that marathon money,
Wow, okay.
then then they're in
Especially for the pediatric,
for pediatric
like
cancer,
for PD
so, of
cancer.
course,
But then even
underfunded.
we listened a lot more this year. Well, they came out a lot more with home base and the therapies that they're doing for the veterans and emergency response. I mean, the year of the marathon bombing, that triggered this team to start because everybody we had. One of
MGH didn't have a team before then?
no, well, not an emergency response
No,
team.
Okay, all right. Oh,
And
yes,
one of
okay.
like our
Back it up.
daughter,
Got it.
right?
Yeah.
One of Lily's surgeons ran the marathon that day, and he ran from the finish line to MGH to perform surgeries because they were so now that team. I mean, there's a lot of the hospital prepares a lot the week of the marathon in case, and even on a hot day this year, they had an upswing of people
Oh my
coming
gosh, yeah.
in.
Medical intent, the business was booming in
Yes.
medical intent this year.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, it takes a long time to train both mentally and physically. And if you've committed to this race, you have to do it. But if you haven't trained,
It'll be a tough day.
Yeah, you can't just show up.
it's going to be a tough day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the future? Like we've talked 2025, but do you plan on doing this indefinitely? Get on your little scooter and, when you're
We hope.
93 years old or
I feel like when we run the marathon and we see, people older than us, we even doesn't even matter if we're running the marathon. We're running, all the time, and we'll say, "I hope that's us." Like when we're in our 70s, and it's just great to be out together. It's, you talk, you chat, you're outside. So I mean, as long as we can, and we've had injuries, and you recover, you come back stronger. But I don't see either of us ready to give it up. I mean, I personally would like to run in some different cities, countries. Hopefully,
Oh,
pull
countries
Ryan
would be
along.
cool.
Well, the Boston Marathon is one of the world majors, so I have a number for New York in the fall, and there's London. So I would like to do all the world majors, Berlin.
okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to, God willing, if I'm able to and blessed to keep doing it, as long as I can do it, I'm going to do it. It's just a great day.
He's a Boston guy, though.
Yeah,
he will never give up Boston.
Yeah, it's my favorite day of the year, hands
I
down.
still might go back to Philly.
Yeah, we ran the Philly half last year. We will go back
I
to
do
Philly.
love Philly too.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you run these other marathons, do you qualify? I'm just wondering, like we had talked about the elite runners, the qualifiers, and then the charity runners.
Yeah.
Okay. As you progress and as you practice and as you do more marathons, do you envision yourself going into like the qualifiers?
Well, I speak for
Hopefully,
myself.
yes.
I don't see myself going into the qualifier.
And how does that change your relationship with MGH? Do you no longer?
That's a good question.
That's a very
So,
good question.
I mean, my goal is I'm on the brink of qualifying, and I can still run for MGH, but I would get an automatic number from the BAA, and I would still fundraise, but the number that you would be held to, I think it's a little bit less. But I feel like I don't know that I would ever run the Boston Marathon and not run for MGH.
I would never run Boston without an MGH shirt on.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
don't
you
think.
still have to raise money.
I think
even
it's
if
about
you...
2,500
Yeah,
to
it's-
be on their team.
Yeah.
Because they do provide a lot of
Okay.
support.
Well, I'm
Like-
just thinking
Yeah.
like the qualifier.
Yes. Oh, but no. So if you all full out qualify, you don't have to run for a charity. You just
Yeah,
Okay.
you,
pay
you
the.
can
But
just
is there
run.
still like a
Oh, it's like
ginormous
probably
entrance fee?
$400.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, because it is the Super Bowl of
Right.
No
Any
doubts.
big
Yeah.
marathon like New York City, those are all three,
Yeah.
four. In those, all the majors you pretty much have to qualify for, or fundraise,
Yeah.
or get a lottery. But Boston, I think, is the only one that does not have any sort of
It's
lottery.
the only one you actually
Like that
actually
you
have to
can't
qualify
randomly
for.
put your name into. You can
Wow.
only.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it must be.
They're like capped at 35,000
Yeah.
people.
I know.
How do you fit in Hopkinton? It's not that big.
It's all waves, waves
It's
and
all
waves.
waves, yeah.
From 9 to 11:15, every 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
they set off.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start out, it's very cool. When you look, because
It is
Hopkinton's
really
all
cool.
downhill, it's a wave of people. Waves,
it
waves.
is incredibly
It's an
cool.
awesome
Yeah.
sight. And then we always, I peek back, too, to see the wave coming behind me. But
Yeah.
even on Boylston Street,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it doesn't
crowded.
usually break up until like mile 4 or 5,
Yeah.
and the streets get a little bit wider, and you can have a little bit more elbow room. But Yeah.
To elbow the person.
I personally don't.
No.
I think she has thrown a few elbows here and there.
No, not me.
No.
I would never.
She's so sweet.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to say that hasn't been said already tonight? Because we have like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I mean, there might be some Burlington people watching, you know.
There might be
you
a
know,
few.
Yes.
You know, the community supports us. You know, just a huge thank you to our girls. You know, Court's parents are always involved, her brother, her sister, and all the local businesses. You know, Suzanne Dan's connection was huge this year. But, you know, it's just a huge thank you to everybody because, you know, we always say no one fights alone. We're all in this together. And, you know, by donating to the Boston Marathon MGH team, you know, we're all making a difference together. You know, whether it's $5 or $100, you know. So, you know, that's what the message we're trying to get out. I mean, the Boston Marathon for us, we get to run the Boston Marathon, but it's much bigger than that. It's just like a victory lap, you know. But everybody's involved, and everyone, you know, we're all in this together making a difference. You know, so thank you to everybody.
Yes, we could not do this. We always say this. We could not do it alone without the support. I would love to mention all of our Burlington friends' names, but I'm afraid we would leave somebody out. But we are truly, truly fortunate to be a part of this community. And Ryan said it so well. Grateful, thankful.
Knowing your children, do you see any of them eventually running with you?
One,
Maybe.
maybe two.
I'm not putting pressure on them or you,
Maybe.
but
I think so. I do.
think so.
That is a dream. I would love. You have to be 18. There's nothing that we would love more than for one of them, two of them, all three, to join us at some point.
somebody's got to meet you at the finish line.
Right?
Right.
So-
I know. That would be amazing.
It would be awesome.
I,
you know.
I think they're inspired by it.
Yeah.
I know.
hope
I'm
so.
not going to say I think. I know they're
Yeah.
inspired, and they're a big part of why we keep going back.
Hopefully, try and set a good example for them. You can do hard things.
That's
If
our
a
big-
marathon was easy, everyone would do it. That's why they call it a marathon.
So, thank you so much for joining me. I love hearing your story. I love hearing your inspiration, your motivation. You know, no, I'm not about to run a marathon, but it's like really inspiring. So, thank you very much. And I also want to thank everyone at home for tuning in this evening. I hope you've been inspired by our fine team here. I know you've heard it a million times before. But thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you around town.